The alien crown rejected every candidate until it lit up for the human girl. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The ancient crystal crown of Valyria sat motionless in its transparent case, its legendary glow absent for over 3 centuries. Around it, the grand ceremonial chamber of the Valyrian High Council buzzed with anticipation as another potential candidate approached the sacred relic. Maya Foster stared out the viewport of the diplomatic shuttle as it descended through Valyria's atmosphere, a swirling mix of amber and turquoise clouds parting to reveal a landscape of towering crystal spires and floating islands connected by bridges of pure light. At 26, she was the youngest diplomat Earth had ever sent to the Galactic Assembly, and definitely the only one ever invited to witness the Valyrian succession ceremony. Nervous? Asked Ambassador Ethan Cole, his weathered face creasing with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Maya nodded, fidgeting with the sleeve of her formal diplomatic uniform. A little. I still don't understand why they specifically requested my presence. I'm just a junior diplomatic attaché. The ambassador's expression turned serious. The Valyrians are peculiar. They insisted that all species attending the succession ceremony bring their youngest diplomatic representative. Something about fresh perspectives for the new reign. What he didn't say, what the briefing materials had only hinted at, was that the Valyrians considered humans to be the galaxy's oddity. Despite joining the Galactic Assembly only 40 years ago, humans had already earned a reputation for their unpredictability, adaptability, and what the Valyrians called evolutionary anomalies. Being the focus of their analytical gaze was unsettling. "We're just observers," Ambassador Cole continued, straightening his collar. "The crown chooses from Valyrian candidates only. Our job is simple: watch, smile, and don't cause an interstellar incident." Maya swallowed hard. No pressure. The shuttle touched down on a crystalline landing pad that seemed to float in midair. Maya followed Ambassador Cole down the ramp, fighting the urge to gape at the welcoming committee. The Valyrians stood nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their movements. Their 4 arms were folded in the traditional greeting posture, and their large, pupil-less eyes, entirely silver, regarded the human delegates with what Maya could only interpret as curiosity. "Greetings, Terran representatives," said the foremost Valyrian, its voice melodic and multi-toned, as if several people were speaking in perfect harmony. "I am High Counselor Velex. We welcome you to the sacred ceremony." Ambassador Cole bowed slightly. "The honor is ours, High Counselor. May I present Maya Foster, Junior Diplomatic Attaché to Earth's Galactic Assembly mission." Velex's skin rippled with a pattern of blue and gold, a sign of approval, according to Maya's cultural briefings. "The young one is welcome. The crown awaits fresh perspectives." Maya performed the customary bow, careful to maintain the exact angle prescribed by protocol. "Thank you for including Earth in this momentous occasion." The High Counselor's upper right hand made a flowing gesture. "All assembly members are witnesses to the will of the crown. Please follow." As they walked through corridors of living crystal that hummed with resonant energy, Maya observed other diplomatic parties being escorted toward the ceremonial chamber. The diversity was staggering. Representatives from over 50 species, some bipedal, others moving on multiple limbs or floating entirely. Some breathed modified atmospheric mixtures through masks, while others were enclosed in environmental suits. They were led into a vast circular chamber with a domed ceiling that seemed to capture and amplify the light from Valyria's twin suns. In the center, on a raised platform, stood a transparent case containing what could only be the famed crown of Valyria, a circlet of intertwined crystalline filaments that caught the light and scattered it in complex patterns across the chamber walls. "It's smaller than I expected," Maya whispered to Ambassador Cole as they were shown to Earth's designated observation area. "Size isn't everything in the galaxy," he responded with a wry smile. "That crown contains the combined wisdom of every Valyrian ruler for the past 12,000 years." Their consciousness is preserved within the crystal matrix. Maya stared at the crown with newfound respect. So whoever it chooses doesn't just rule. They commune with their ancestors? Exactly. The crown is both symbol and substance of their leadership. It's rejected every candidate since High Sovereign Talix died 3 centuries ago. The High Council has ruled in the interim, but they claim the crown is becoming restless. Before Maya could ask what a restless crown might do, a resonant tone filled the chamber, vibrating through her bones. The assembled diplomats fell silent as 12 Valyrian candidates entered, each wearing ceremonial robes that seemed to flow like liquid metal. High Counselor Velex stepped onto the central platform. Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Assembly, we thank you for bearing witness to the succession. For 3 centuries, the crown of sovereign wisdom has awaited its chosen vessel. Today, we present 12 candidates of the purest lineages, trained in the ancient ways. May the crown find its match. One by one, the candidates approached the case. Each time, the same ritual unfolded. The case would dematerialize, the candidate would kneel, and 2 high counselors would lift the crown and hold it above the candidate's head. And each time, the crown remained dormant, a beautiful but lifeless artifact. By the 11th rejection, a palpable tension had filled the chamber. Maya found herself holding her breath as the final candidate, a young Valyrian with skin that rippled in patterns of deep purple and silver, knelt before the crown. The crown was raised, hovered, and nothing. A collective murmur swept through the chamber as the final candidate walked away, head bowed. High Counselor Velex's skin had turned a muted gray, which Maya recognized as a sign of deep distress. Esteemed witnesses, Velex said, voice wavering slightly. For the first time in our recorded history, the crown has rejected all candidates of suitable lineage. We must. The counselor's words cut off abruptly as the crown in its case began to emit a soft, pulsing light. The light grew stronger, its color shifting from white to a deep, vibrant blue that sent beams dancing across the chamber. The crown speaks, whispered Velex, all 4 hands raised in a gesture of supplication. It calls to someone. The blue light coalesced into a beam that swept across the chamber, passing over the Valyrian counselors and candidates before turning toward the diplomatic observation areas. Maya felt Ambassador Cole stiffen beside her as the beam moved closer to the Earth delegation. This is unprecedented, he whispered, his usual composure cracking. The beam of light stopped, hovering directly over Maya. She felt a strange warmth wash over her, and an odd, tingling sensation at the base of her skull. High Counselor Velex's voice cut through the stunned silence. The human female. The crown calls to the human female. All eyes in the chamber turned to Maya. She stood frozen, the blue light bathing her in its glow, unsure whether to step forward or run. This cannot be, said one of the Valyrian counselors, skin flashing angry red. The crown chooses only from our people. It has been this way for 12,000 years. The crown's will is absolute, countered another counselor, approaching Maya with a mixture of awe and trepidation. If it calls to the human, we must at least allow the testing. Ambassador Cole placed a protective hand on Maya's shoulder. My government would need to be consulted before any of our citizens participates in. Ambassador, Maya interrupted, surprising herself with her steady voice. I think we should at least hear what the testing entails. The beam of light pulsed, as if in approval. High Counselor Velex approached, skin shifting through patterns of blue, gold, and white, confusion, reverence, and fear. The testing is simple, human Maya. You would approach the crown. If it truly calls to you, it will illuminate fully when placed upon your head. If not, no harm will come to you. And if it does illuminate, Maya asked, already guessing the answer, then you would become sovereign of Valyria, bound to our world and people, Velex replied. It is a position no off-worlder has ever held or been offered. Ambassador Cole's grip on her shoulder tightened. This is far beyond our diplomatic parameters. I must insist we consult with Earth Central before proceeding. The crown's light pulsed more intensely, the beam widening to envelop Maya completely. "It grows impatient," said Velex. "After 3 centuries of silence, the crown's will cannot be delayed." Maya felt something stir within her, a curiosity, a pull that she couldn't explain. What would happen if I refused? The crown would return to dormancy, Velex explained, perhaps for another 3 centuries. Our world would continue under council rule, but without the wisdom of our ancestors to guide us. Valyria would remain incomplete. Maya looked at the anxious faces around her, not just the Valyrians, but the representatives of dozens of worlds, all watching this unprecedented moment unfold. She thought of Earth, still finding its place in the galactic community, and of the unique opportunity before her. "I'll do the testing," she said, gently removing Ambassador Cole's hand from her shoulder. "Maya, this isn't authorized," the ambassador hissed. "If that crown chooses you, you'd be expected to renounce your Earth citizenship, to become something no human has ever been." She met his concerned gaze. "And if it rejects me, we've shown goodwill to a powerful assembly member. Diplomacy is about building bridges, isn't it?" Before he could argue further, Maya stepped forward into the beam of light. The assembled crowd parted before her, creating a path to the central platform. Each step felt simultaneously like her own choice and something inevitable, as if she were being gently pulled forward by an invisible thread. As she approached the platform, the case containing the crown dematerialized completely. The crown itself now hovered in midair, the blue light emanating from it casting Maya's shadow long across the chamber floor. High Counselor Velex gestured for her to kneel on the ceremonial cushion. As she did, she noticed the intricate patterns woven into the fabric, symbols she shouldn't have recognized but somehow did, as if the knowledge had been placed directly into her mind. "The crown will now test compatibility," Velex announced, voice echoing throughout the chamber. 2 counselors stepped forward and carefully lifted the crown. As it rose above her head, Maya felt the strange tingling sensation intensify. The crown descended slowly, and as it touched her brow, several things happened at once. The blue light exploded outward, bathing the entire chamber in brilliant radiance. A sound like crystal bells filled the air, and within Maya's mind, 1,000 voices suddenly spoke as one. At last, they said, "The anomaly we have awaited." Maya gasped as knowledge flooded her consciousness. The histories of Valyria, the lineages of its rulers, the secret technologies hidden beneath its crystal cities. But most shocking of all was the realization that this had been planned. The crown had been waiting, not just for 3 centuries, but for millennia, for something the Valyrians called the evolutionary divergent. For a human, the light receded, focusing again into the crown, which now sat firmly on Maya's head, glowing with a steady blue radiance. When she rose to her feet, she felt different, more balanced, more aware, as if her consciousness had expanded to fill the chamber. "The crown has chosen," Velex announced, dropping to one knee. Around the chamber, the Valyrians followed suit, even those who had objected moments before. "Rise," Maya said, her voice carrying a resonant quality it hadn't possessed before. "I don't understand. Why me? Why a human?" Velex looked up, skin shifting with complex patterns. "That is for the crown to know and you to discover, Sovereign Maya. But the ancient texts speak of a time when the crown would seek new patterns, new thoughts, a catalyst for change." From the diplomatic observation area, Ambassador Cole watched with a mixture of awe and diplomatic panic. "This is going to make for an interesting report to Earth Central," he muttered. Maya turned to address the assembled representatives, feeling the weight of the crown and the whispers of its past bearers guiding her words. "Representatives of the Galactic Assembly, I stand before you as surprised as you are. I don't yet understand why the crown has chosen me, but I sense its purpose is greater than any of us know. I ask for your patience and understanding as I learn what this means, for Valyria, for Earth, and for our shared future among the stars." The chamber erupted in a mixture of applause, concerned murmuring, and the various sounds different species made to express astonishment. Maya caught Ambassador Cole's eye, and he gave her a slight nod, half acknowledgement, half resignation. High Counselor Velex stepped forward again. The succession is complete, but the binding ceremony must follow. Sovereign Maya must be connected to the heart of Valyria itself. Binding? Maya asked, feeling the crown adjust slightly on her head, as if responding to her question. Yes, said Velex. The crown is but one component of the sovereign connection. You must journey to the crystal heart at Valyria's core, where the full wisdom of our world will be accessible to you. As Velex spoke, Maya felt the crown feeding her images, a vast chamber of pulsing crystal deep beneath the surface, channels of energy connecting to cities across the planet, and something else, something the crown itself seemed reluctant to reveal fully. How soon must this happen? She asked, thinking of the diplomatic implications, of Earth's reaction, of her own life suddenly veering into uncharted territory. Traditionally, immediately, Velex replied. But these are unprecedented circumstances. The crown has waited 3 centuries. Perhaps it will grant a short reprieve for you to prepare. Maya nodded, feeling the weight of her new reality settling upon her. I would appreciate that. As the ceremonial chamber began to empty, delegates returning to their ships to report this unexpected development to their governments, Maya found herself surrounded by a protective circle of Valyrian counselors. Ambassador Cole pushed his way through to her side. Are you all right? He asked, eyeing the crown with open suspicion. I think so, Maya replied, reaching up to touch the crown but stopping just short, somehow knowing that once placed, only she could remove it, and that doing so would be a grave decision. It's strange. I can feel them, Ethan. All the past sovereigns, their memories, their knowledge. They're waiting for something. For what? The ambassador asked. Before Maya could answer, a tremor ran through the chamber. The crystal walls vibrated with a discordant tone that made everyone wince. The resonance cascade begins, Velex said, skin paling to near white. We had not anticipated this. What's happening? Maya demanded, feeling the crown tighten slightly on her head. The crown has chosen, but the heart grows restless. The binding cannot wait, Sovereign Maya. Valyria calls to you now. Another tremor, stronger than the first, shook the chamber. Cracks appeared in the previously perfect crystal walls. What happens if I don't go to this heart right away? Maya asked, already suspecting the answer. Velex's 4 hands made a complex gesture of supplication. Valyria's systems fall into disharmony. The floating cities may lose stability. The atmospheric regulators could fail. So the whole planet could be destroyed if I don't complete this binding. Maya looked to Ambassador Cole, whose diplomatic experience was evident in his carefully neutral expression. It appears, he said slowly, that you've been drafted into a more hands-on form of diplomacy than we anticipated. A third tremor rocked the chamber, stronger still. From somewhere in the distance came the sound of crystal shattering. Very well, Maya said, straightening her shoulders. Take me to the heart. Let's complete this binding before anyone gets hurt. As the Valyrian counselors led her from the chamber toward a special transport platform, Maya felt the crown pulsing in time with her heartbeat. The voices of the past sovereigns had grown quiet, expectant. They were hiding something. The crown, the Valyrians, perhaps even the planet itself. They all had agendas she couldn't yet grasp. Yet here she was, a junior diplomatic attaché from Earth, suddenly the linchpin in an alien succession crisis. The transport platform descended rapidly through layers of crystal and stone, plunging toward the planet's core. Maya stood in the center, the crown on her head glowing brighter as they descended. What exactly will happen during this binding? She asked Velex, who stood beside her. Your consciousness will merge with the heart of Valyria, the counselor explained. You will know our world as you know your own body. You will feel its needs, direct its systems, commune with its essence. And has any non-Valyrian ever done this before? Velex's skin rippled with patterns of deep blue. No, Sovereign Maya. But the crown has chosen. the heart will accept. The platform slowed as they approached a vast cavern illuminated by a pulsing crystal formation the size of a small mountain. The crystal heart of Valyria glowed with the same blue light as the crown, its facets reflecting and refracting the radiance until the entire cavern seemed alive with dancing light. As Maya stepped off the platform, she felt a pull from the heart, a resonance that matched the crown's energy. The tremors that had shaken the surface were stronger here, the very ground beneath her feet vibrating with increasing intensity. "What do I do?" she asked, raising her voice over the growing rumble. "Approach the heart," Velex instructed. "Place your hands upon the sovereign's facet, the flat surface there, at eye level. The crown will guide the rest." Maya walked forward, feeling as if she were moving through water. The air around the heart seemed thicker, charged with potential energy. As she drew closer, she could see complex patterns flowing through the crystal. Data, she realized, the lifeblood of Valyrian civilization. She reached the sovereign's facet, a perfectly smooth, hexagonal surface at the height of her shoulders. As she raised her hands to touch it, she hesitated, turning back to look at the Valyrian counselors and Ambassador Cole, who had insisted on accompanying her. "If this goes wrong," she called to the ambassador, "tell Earth I was trying to do the right thing." He nodded gravely. "Good luck, Sovereign Foster." Maya turned back to the heart and placed her palms flat against the crystal surface. Immediately, energy surged up her arms and into her body. The crown on her head flared with blinding light, and she felt her consciousness being pulled forward into the heart itself. For a moment, she was everywhere at once, flowing through the crystal networks that connected Valyria's cities, sensing the millions of Valyrians going about their lives, feeling the artificial gravity generators that kept the floating islands aloft, tasting the complex atmospheric mixtures being produced by massive hidden machines. Valyria was not just a planet, it was a vast, integrated system, part natural, part artificial, all pulsing with life and purpose. And at its core lay a secret, the true reason the crown had chosen her. As her consciousness settled into the heart, the knowledge unfolded before her like a blooming flower. Valyria was dying. The civilization that had existed for 12,000 years was reaching a critical juncture. The systems designed by their ancestors were failing. The Valyrian genome itself was degrading, each generation less viable than the last. They needed something new, something different. They needed humanity's adaptability, Earth's evolutionary dynamism. They needed Maya. The crown had been waiting for the right human, someone whose mind could integrate with Valyrian technology but bring human ingenuity and resilience to bear on problems the Valyrians couldn't solve themselves. As this understanding flooded her mind, Maya felt the heart respond to her presence. The tremors subsided. The energy flow stabilized. Valyria accepted its new sovereign, and Maya Foster, junior diplomatic attaché from Earth, became something more than human, more than Valyrian. She became a bridge between worlds. When she finally withdrew her consciousness from the heart and opened her eyes, she found the Valyrian counselors kneeling before her, their skin glowing with patterns she now recognized as joy and hope. "The binding is complete," she said, her voice carrying new authority. "Valyria is stabilized. For now." Ambassador Cole approached cautiously. "Maya, are you still you?" She smiled, feeling the crown settle more comfortably on her head. "Yes and no, Ambassador. I'm still Maya Foster, but I'm also the sovereign of Valyria. And we have much to discuss about the future relationship between our worlds." As they ascended back to the surface, Maya's mind raced with the implications of what she had learned and what lay ahead. The crown had chosen her for a purpose, to save a dying civilization, to forge a new path for Valyria, and perhaps to change the course of galactic history. Not bad for her first diplomatic assignment. But as the transport platform rose through layers of crystal and stone, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the crown's choice than even the heart had revealed. Something hidden deeper still, waiting to be discovered. The real test was just beginning. 6 months had passed since Maya Foster became sovereign of Valyria, and the galaxy was still adjusting to the unprecedented reality of a human ruling an ancient alien civilization. Maya stood on the balcony of the Sovereign's spire, gazing out at the floating crystal cities gleaming in the light of the twin suns. The crown on her head pulsed gently, its blue glow a constant reminder of her unique position. "Sovereign, the Earth delegation has arrived," announced Velex, now her chief counselor, skin shimmering with formal patterns of blue and gold. Maya nodded, feeling a flutter of nervousness. "Show them to the grand reception chamber. I'll be there shortly." After Velex departed, Maya closed her eyes and extended her consciousness through the crown, connecting briefly with the crystal heart at the planet's core. The vital systems of Valyria flowed through her awareness. Atmospheric processors functioning at optimal levels, gravity generators stable, the floating islands perfectly balanced. But beneath these surface functions, she could sense the deeper issues that the crown had chosen her to address. The Valyrian genome was degrading at an accelerating rate. Within 5 generations, their species would face extinction unless something changed. The founders of their civilization had created technological marvels, but they hadn't accounted for the genetic isolation that would occur over millennia. Opening her eyes, Maya straightened her formal robes, a blend of traditional Valyrian design and subtle Earth influences, and headed to meet the delegation from her home world. Ambassador Cole was there, along with a team of scientists, diplomats, and military observers. Their expressions as she entered ranged from awe to suspicion to open curiosity. "Sovereign Foster," Ambassador Cole said, performing the Earth diplomatic bow rather than the Valyrian greeting gesture. A small reminder of where her original loyalties lay. "Ambassador Cole," she replied with a warm smile. "And please, when it's just us Earth folk, it's still Maya." The tension in the room eased slightly, though the Earth representatives still regarded the glowing crown on her head with undisguised fascination. "Allow me to introduce Dr. Olivia Hayes, our leading xenogeneticist," the ambassador said, gesturing to a serious-looking woman with short dark hair, "and General Blake Turner, representing Earth's security interests." Maya nodded to each of them. "I'm grateful you've come. What I'm proposing will require expertise from both your fields." She guided them to a circular table where holographic displays activated at her approach. With a gesture, she brought up a 3-dimensional model of a DNA strand, but not a human one. The Valyrian genetic structure twisted in complex patterns, certain segments highlighted in red. "This is the current state of the Valyrian genome," she explained. "These highlighted sections show degradation that has occurred over thousands of years of technological intervention and genetic isolation." Dr. Hayes leaned forward, her scientific curiosity clearly overriding any diplomatic caution. "Fascinating. Their genetic structure is silicon-based rather than carbon, but the organizational principles are remarkably similar to our own." "That's not coincidence," Maya said, feeling the crown warm slightly on her head as she approached the revelation that had shocked her to her core when she discovered it. The Valyrians and humans share a common ancestor. The room fell silent. General Turner's hand instinctively moved toward his sidearm before he caught himself. "That's impossible," Dr. Hayes said flatly. "We evolved on different planets, in different star systems, with fundamentally different biochemistry." Maya raised her hand, and the holographic display shifted to show a star map. Approximately 200,000 years ago, the precursors of the Valyrian civilization detected an extinction-level asteroid on course for a primitive world, a world they had been observing with great interest because it had developed intelligent, tool-using life. The star map zoomed in, and Earth appeared, rotating slowly. They couldn't prevent the impact, but they could save samples of the indigenous life. They took genetic material from early humans, along with several hundred living specimens, and transported them to a world they had been terraforming, Valyria. Ambassador Cole shook his head in disbelief. "You're saying Valyrians are descended from prehistoric humans?" "Modified prehistoric humans," Maya corrected. "The precursors used their technology to adapt the human genetic structure to Valyria's environment. higher silicon content, modified respiratory system, additional limbs for increased dexterity. Over thousands of generations, the Valyrians evolved into what they are today. Dr. Hayes was rapidly taking notes on her datapad. This is, if true, it's the greatest scientific discovery in human history. The crown and the heart contain the complete historical record, Maya said. All the proof you'll need is there. But that's not why I asked you here. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. The Valyrians have reached an evolutionary dead end. Their adaptations were brilliant, but ultimately flawed. Without an infusion of genetic diversity, human genetic diversity, their civilization will collapse within a century. General Turner's eyes narrowed. And what exactly are you proposing, Sovereign Foster? Maya took a deep breath. A controlled genetic exchange program. Voluntary, of course. Human genetic material reintegrated into the Valyrian genome, and vice versa, creating a hybrid species that combines the best of both evolutionary paths. The reactions around the table were exactly as she'd expected: shock, disbelief, and in the general's case, alarm. You're talking about creating an entirely new species, Dr. Hayes said, her scientific excitement visible despite her attempt at professional detachment. I'm talking about saving one, Maya corrected gently, and perhaps improving another. Human genetic diversity combined with Valyrian technological advancement could create something remarkable. Ambassador Cole leaned forward. Maya, you must realize how this will be received on Earth. There are elements in our government who already view your position here as a security risk. This proposal will be seen as extreme. I know, she acknowledged. That's why I'm starting with you, people I trust. The Crown chose me because I can see both perspectives. I'm still human, despite this. She touched the Crown lightly. But I also understand what's at stake for Valyria. The discussion continued for hours, with Dr. Hayes becoming increasingly enthusiastic about the scientific possibilities, while General Turner raised security concerns that Maya had to admit were valid. Ambassador Cole remained thoughtful, weighing the diplomatic ramifications from all angles. By the time they took a break, Maya could sense a shift in the room. Not acceptance, not yet, but openness to possibility. It was a start. As the Earth delegation retired to their quarters to rest and confer privately, Maya returned to the Sovereign's spire. She removed the crown, one of the few times she had done so since the binding, and placed it on its ceremonial stand. You knew this would be difficult, she said to the crown, which pulsed gently in response. After months of communion, she had learned that while the crown itself wasn't exactly sentient, it was a conduit for the collective wisdom of past sovereigns, and they could, in their way, communicate with her. The crown's light shifted, forming patterns that Maya had learned to interpret. Not words exactly, but concepts, impressions. Necessary. Survival. Evolution. Trust. Trust is earned, she replied, running a hand through her hair. And humans have good reason to be cautious. You're asking a lot. The light pulsed again. Patience. Time. Together. Maya smiled tiredly. Yes, I know. One step at a time. A soft chime interrupted her communion with the crown. Sovereign, came Velex's voice through the communication system. There's a situation requiring your attention. What is it? Maya asked, immediately alert. Security sensors have detected unauthorized access to the ancestral archives. It appears to be coming from the Earth delegation's quarters. Maya frowned. I'm on my way. She replaced the crown on her head, feeling the familiar rush as it reconnected with her mind, and made her way quickly to the guest wing. Two Valyrian security officers stood outside the Earth delegation's suite, their skin patterns showing alarm and uncertainty. Stand down, Maya ordered. I'll handle this. Inside, she found General Turner hunched over a portable device connected to a Valyrian data terminal. He jumped to his feet when she entered, his face flushing with guilt. Sovereign, I can explain. Spying General? Maya asked, keeping her voice level despite her disappointment. Or should I say, gathering intelligence? Following orders, he replied stiffly. Surely you understand that Earth needed to verify your claims independently. The implications are too significant to take at face value, even from you. Maya sighed, feeling the crown feeding her information about exactly what data the general had accessed. Historical records mostly, nothing that compromised current Valyrian security. I understand duty, General, but this approach undermines the trust we're trying to build. She gestured to his device, and it was unnecessary. I was going to give you full access to these archives tomorrow as part of our discussions. Turner had the decency to look embarrassed. I've been a soldier for 30 years, Sovereign Foster. In my experience, trust but verify is the safest policy. Maya considered her options. The Crown was suggesting several responses, ranging from diplomatic outrage to simply erasing the general's gathered data. Instead, she chose a different path. What did you find in your unauthorized research, General? Did it confirm or contradict what I told you? He hesitated, then straightened his shoulders. Everything checks out. The genetic markers, the historical timeline, even the asteroid impact on Earth that the history books call the Younger Dryas extinction event. If this is a deception, it's the most comprehensive one I've ever encountered. It's not a deception, Maya said. But your caution is noted and, frankly, expected. She gestured to the data terminal. Finish your analysis. I'll instruct the security system to grant you proper access. But next time, General, just ask. As she turned to leave, he called after her. Sovereign. Maya, I need to know something. Where do your loyalties truly lie now? With Earth or Valyria? She paused at the door. With the future, General Turner. A future where that distinction may not matter as much as we think. The next morning, the full Earth delegation assembled in the grand reception chamber along with the Valyrian High Council. The atmosphere was tense but not hostile. Progress, Maya thought, as she took her place at the head of the assembly. Representatives of Earth and Valyria, she began. What we discussed today will shape the future of both our worlds. The Crown has shown me that our destinies have been intertwined for longer than any of us realized. Now we have the opportunity to embrace that connection. She outlined her proposal in detail, a careful, gradual program of genetic exchange, beginning with volunteers from both worlds, strictly controlled and scientifically monitored. The benefits would flow both ways. Valyria would gain the genetic diversity it desperately needed, while Earth would gain access to Valyrian medical technology that could eliminate disease, extend human lifespan, and enhance cognitive function. This isn't about creating super soldiers or undermining either world's autonomy, she emphasized, noting General Turner's skeptical expression. It's about ensuring that both our species have a future among the stars. Dr. Hayes was the first to respond. The scientific potential is extraordinary. With proper ethical oversight, this could represent the next great leap in human evolution. Ambassador Cole nodded slowly. From a diplomatic perspective, this would cement an alliance between Earth and Valyria that would strengthen both our positions in the Galactic Assembly. General Turner remained stone-faced. And if Earth declines this proposal? The question hung in the air. Maya felt the crown warming on her head, feeding her impressions from past sovereigns, some urging caution, others suggesting more forceful approaches. Then Valyria will respect that decision, Maya said firmly, silencing the more aggressive voices from the crown. We will seek other solutions. But I believe both worlds would lose a historic opportunity. One of the Valyrian counselors, Taylor, rose to speak. His skin displayed patterns of skepticism. Sovereign, while we trust your wisdom, some among us question whether human genetic material is truly compatible with our advanced physiology. We have evolved far beyond our origins. Maya smiled. A fair concern, counselor, which is why I've taken the liberty of conducting a preliminary compatibility study. She gestured, and a holographic display appeared, showing complex genetic simulations. Using my own genetic material as a baseline, our scientists have confirmed that reintegration is not only possible, but potentially transformative. The Crown itself has verified these findings. The chamber erupted in murmurs as both delegations examined the data. Dr. Hayes was practically vibrating with excitement as she pored over the simulations. "This is revolutionary," she whispered to Ambassador Cole. "The applications go far beyond saving the Valyrians. This could be the key to human adaptation to other worlds without terraforming." The discussions continued throughout the day, breaking into smaller working groups to address specific aspects of the proposal. By evening, Maya could sense a shift in the atmosphere, from skepticism to cautious optimism. As the formal session concluded, Ambassador Cole approached her privately. "You've given us much to consider, Sovereign Foster. I'll present your proposal to Earth's government, but I must warn you, there will be resistance." "I know," Maya said. "Change is never easy, especially change of this magnitude. But the Crown has shown me possibilities that I never imagined, Ethan. Futures where humans and Valyrians work together to solve problems neither could address alone." The ambassador studied her face. "You've changed since that ceremony 6 months ago. Not just the crown or your position. Something deeper." Maya touched the crown reflexively. "I've seen the interconnectedness of all things in a way I never could before. The Valyrians call it the grand pattern, the web that connects all life in the galaxy. Humans and Valyrians are just different expressions of the same fundamental pattern. That's what the Crown wanted me to understand." As the Earth delegation prepared to depart the next day, Maya stood on the landing platform, the Crown glowing softly in the morning light. Dr. Hayes approached her with an excited expression. "I've been authorized to establish a research team," she said. "If your proposal is approved, we'll need detailed protocols for the genetic exchange program." "Thank you, Olivia," Maya replied. "The Crown will guide Valyrian scientists to share everything you need." General Turner was next, his military bearings slightly softened. "Sovereign Foster, I want to apologize for my unauthorized research." "Old habits. No apology needed, General. Caution serves its purpose." He nodded. "I've recommended to Earth Command that we proceed with caution but openness. Your proposal has merit, despite my initial reservations." As the delegation boarded their shuttle, Ambassador Cole lingered. "This is just the beginning of a long process, Maya. There will be setbacks, opposition, fear on both sides." "I know," she said. "But for the first time in centuries, there's hope for Valyria's future. And perhaps a new direction for humanity as well." The ambassador glanced at the Crown. "Does it ever tell you why it chose you specifically? Out of all humans it could have selected." Maya smiled. "Not in words. But I've come to understand that it wasn't just about my genetic compatibility or diplomatic position. It was about perspective. I was always between worlds, never quite feeling I belonged anywhere. The Crown needed someone who could stand in the threshold between civilizations and see both sides clearly." As the Earth shuttle lifted off, Maya felt the Crown pulsing with approval. She had passed another test, taken another step toward the future it had envisioned when it chose her. But challenges remained. 3 months later, Maya stood before the Galactic Assembly, the first human sovereign of Valyria addressing the gathered representatives of 53 spacefaring civilizations. The crown on her head glowed with a steady blue light, linking her to the heart of Valyria even across interstellar distances. "Distinguished representatives," she began, her voice carrying through the vast chamber. "I come before you today not just as sovereign of Valyria, but as a bridge between worlds. What I propose will change the course of galactic history." On the screens behind her, data appeared, genetic sequences, historical timelines, projections of evolutionary paths. She explained the ancient connection between humans and Valyrians, the current crisis facing Valyria, and the proposed solution. "But this is larger than just 2 worlds," she continued. "The pattern I've discovered suggests that many species in this assembly share common origins, seeded across the galaxy by ancient civilizations we've only begun to understand. We are all connected in ways we haven't yet fully grasped." Murmurs spread through the chamber as representatives conferred with their advisors. Some appeared skeptical, others intrigued, a few openly hostile to the idea. "The genetic exchange program between Earth and Valyria is just the beginning," Maya said. I propose the establishment of a galactic genetic repository, a secure database where all member species can contribute genetic information voluntarily and benefit from the collective evolutionary wisdom of countless worlds. The Zinthri representative, a gaseous being contained within an environmental suit, floated forward. Sovereign Foster, while your proposal is intriguing, many worlds would view this as a threat to their genetic sovereignty. What assurances can you offer against misuse? A valid concern, Maya acknowledged. The repository would be governed by a council with representatives from all participating worlds. Access would be strictly controlled, with multiple layers of security and ethical oversight. The debates continued for days, with Maya drawing on the Crown's wisdom to address concerns, clarify points, and build consensus. Earth's representatives, including Dr. Hayes, provided scientific validation for her claims, while Valyrian counselors offered technological solutions to security concerns. By the final day of the assembly, 27 worlds had tentatively agreed to participate in the repository, with others requesting more time to consider. It wasn't universal acceptance, but it was a start, a foundation for the future the Crown had envisioned. As Maya prepared to return to Valyria, Ambassador Cole joined her in the Assembly's Garden Dome, a peaceful space designed to accommodate diverse species. You've accomplished more in 9 months than most diplomats do in a lifetime, he said, genuine admiration in his voice. Earth's government has approved the initial phase of the genetic exchange program. The first human volunteers will arrive on Valyria next month. Maya smiled, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. That's wonderful news, Ethan. The Valyrian scientists are already preparing the labs. There's something else, he added, his expression growing serious. Intelligence reports suggest that certain factions are concerned about your growing influence. Not everyone sees this grand unified future as desirable. The crown warmed on Maya's head, feeding her impressions of danger, caution, preparation. The crown has sensed opposition as well, she admitted. Change threatens those who benefit from the current order. Be careful, Maya. You're changing the galaxy, and that makes you a target. She nodded, understanding the warning all too well. The crown chose me knowing the path wouldn't be easy. But it's the right path, Ethan. I feel that in my bones, both my human bones and whatever I'm becoming. 1 month later, Maya stood in Valyria's primary genetic research facility, watching as the first human volunteers underwent preliminary examinations. Dr. Hayes moved among them, explaining procedures and answering questions with barely contained excitement. The compatibility markers are even stronger than we predicted, the doctor reported, joining Maya at the observation window. The first genetic therapies could begin as soon as next week. And the Valyrian volunteers? Maya asked, responding well to the preparatory treatments. Their systems are accepting the human genetic material without rejection. Dr. Hayes shook her head in wonder. It's as if our DNA recognizes its long-lost cousins. A young Valyrian researcher approached, skin patterns showing urgency. Sovereign, we've detected an anomaly in the security grid. Multiple access points have been compromised simultaneously. Maya felt the crown flare hot against her brow, its warning clear. Lock down the facility, she ordered. Dr. Hayes, get the volunteers to the secure area. As alarms began to sound, Maya extended her consciousness through the crown, connecting to Valyria's security systems. She could sense intruders moving through the crystal corridors, some Valyrian, others of species she didn't immediately recognize. Their target was clear, the genetic samples from both human and Valyrian volunteers. Sovereign, Velex's voice came through the communication system. A shuttle has breached our defensive perimeter. It's not responding to hails. Track it, Maya commanded, already moving toward the facility's command center. And get me General Turner on secure channel. Earth needs to be warned. The next hours passed in a blur of activity. The intruders were repelled, though not before they managed to steal duplicate samples of the genetic material. The rogue shuttle escaped into deep space, its destination unknown. In the aftermath, Maya convened an emergency meeting of her Security Council. General Turner joined via holographic link from Earth. We've identified at least 3 of the intruders, the general reported grimly. They're connected to a group calling themselves evolutionary purists, fanatics who believe species should develop without interference. They have cells on multiple worlds, including Valyria, added Velex, skin patterns showing distress. 2 of the security officers who helped the intruders were members of an ancient lineage that has always opposed the Crown's authority. Maya felt the weight of the Crown, heavier than usual. This is just the beginning, she said. The purists will try again, and next time they might target more than samples. General Turner nodded. Earth is increasing security around our research facilities and volunteer screening centers. But Sovereign, you need to consider that you yourself may be their primary target. The Crown chose you to lead this change. Eliminating you might be their ultimate goal. The thought had already occurred to her, fed by the Crown's whispers of caution. I understand the risk, General, but we can't allow fear to stop us. Too much is at stake. Over the following weeks, security was tightened across Valyria. The genetic exchange program continued under heavy guard, with the first treatments showing promising results. Valyrian volunteers exhibited increased genetic stability, while human participants demonstrated improved cellular regeneration and enhanced neural processing. Maya divided her time between overseeing the program, coordinating with Earth, and building support among other assembly worlds. The Crown was her constant companion, its wisdom guiding her through diplomatic challenges and scientific breakthroughs alike. 3 months after the attack, as she prepared for a public address to the Valyrian people, Maya felt the Crown suddenly pulse with urgent warning. Before she could react, an explosion rocked the Sovereign's spire, sending shards of crystal raining down around her. Sovereign, Velex called through the smoke, 2 of his 4 arms reaching for her. We must get you to safety. Maya shook her head, clearing the dizziness. The broadcast, we need to proceed. Canceling would show weakness. It's too dangerous, Velex insisted. Security has detected multiple breaches in the lower levels. The Crown flared on Maya's head, and she felt a surge of determination that wasn't entirely her own. The past sovereigns were united on this point. Retreat was not an option. The future of Valyria depended on this moment. Secure the broadcast chamber, she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. I will address my people as planned. As security forces engaged the intruders in the lower levels, Maya stood before the broadcast array, the crown glowing brilliantly on her head. Millions of Valyrians across the planet would be watching, along with Earth observers and representatives from other assembly worlds. People of Valyria, she began, her image transmitted to crystal receivers throughout the planet. Today our shared path faces opposition. Those who fear change, who cling to isolation and purity, have attacked the very heart of our world. But they do not understand what the crown has shown me. That diversity is strength, that connection is survival, that evolution demands adaptation. As she spoke, she could feel the crown connecting her more deeply to the heart of Valyria than ever before. Energy flowed through her, and the blue glow spread from the crown down to envelop her entire body. The path forward is not through separation, but through union. Not through purity, but through diversity. The crown chose me not despite my humanity, but because of it, because the future of Valyria, of Earth, of all worlds depends on our ability to see beyond our differences to the common pattern that unites us all. The sounds of fighting grew closer, but Maya continued, the crown's light intensifying with each word. Those who attack us today fear what we are becoming. But I have seen the future the crown envisions, and it is beautiful beyond measure. Suddenly, the doors to the broadcast chamber burst open. 3 figures charged in. 2 Valyrians with skin patterns showing fanatical dedication, and a being from a species Maya didn't recognize, all heavily armed. The false sovereign dies today, shouted the lead attacker, raising a weapon. What happened next would be debated in scientific and spiritual circles across the galaxy for centuries to come. The crown on Maya's head flared with blinding light. The blue glow surrounding her body condensed, hardened, forming a crystalline shield that deflected the energy blast from the attacker's weapon. Then, with a gesture that seemed both instinctive and guided, Maya extended her hand. A beam of pure blue energy shot forth, enveloping the attackers. But instead of harming them, it seemed to hold them in place, suspended in crystalline stasis. "I see your fears," Maya said, her voice resonant with power beyond her own. "I understand your concerns, but this path is necessary." Through the crown's connection, she could sense the attackers' minds, their dedication to genetic purity, their fear of change, their belief that she was destroying what made each species unique. "You're wrong," she told them, still broadcasting to the watching millions. "Diversity doesn't erase uniqueness, it celebrates it. Connection doesn't destroy identity, it enriches it." With another gesture, she released the attackers from stasis. They collapsed to the floor, their weapons transformed into harmless crystal shards. "Take them into custody," she instructed the security forces that had finally reached the chamber. "They will be treated with compassion and given the opportunity to understand what we're building here." As the attackers were led away, Maya turned back to the broadcast array. "People of Valyria, of Earth, of all worlds watching, what you have witnessed today is not just the power of the crown, but the power of connection. The future I envision is not imposed through force, but offered as a choice. Each world, each individual must decide for themselves whether to join this new path. But know this, the pattern that connects us all cannot be broken by those who fear change. It can only be strengthened by those who embrace it." The broadcast ended, but the effects of Maya's display reverberated across the galaxy. Applications for the genetic exchange program tripled overnight. Representatives from worlds that had been hesitant now reached out, requesting more information about the Galactic Genetic Repository. Even the evolutionary purists found their support waning as the benefits of the program became increasingly evident. 6 months later, Maya stood in the Chamber of Life, watching as the first child of the new generation was born to a Valyrian couple who had undergone the genetic treatments. The infant's skin showed the iridescent patterns typical of Valyrians, but with subtle variations that indicated the integrated human genetic material. Most striking were the eyes, still silver, but with distinct pupils that would allow for sharper vision across various light conditions. "The first of many," said Dr. Hayes, who had become the program's chief scientific officer. "The genetic stability is remarkable. This child's lineage should extend far beyond what pure Valyrians could achieve." Maya nodded, feeling the crown's warm approval. "And the human participants?" "Exceeding expectations. The Valyrian regenerative capabilities have integrated seamlessly. We're seeing accelerated healing, improved cellular efficiency, and early signs of extended lifespan potential. And the neural enhancements are particularly fascinating. Some participants are demonstrating limited telepathic abilities, similar to your connection with the crown." As Maya left the Chamber of Life, she found Ambassador Cole waiting in the corridor. Now Earth's permanent representative to Valyria, he had become one of her closest advisors and friends. 38 worlds have now joined the repository, he reported as they walked together. And the Assembly has officially recognized the Human Valyrian Genetic Accord as a model for interspecies cooperation. "And the purists?" Maya asked. "Still active, but increasingly marginalized. Your approach to the attackers, showing compassion rather than retribution, undermined their narrative about human aggression. They reached the Contemplation Garden, a peaceful space where crystal formations amplified the natural harmony of Valyria's environment." Maya removed the crown, something she did more frequently now that its lessons had been more fully integrated into her understanding, and placed it on a specially designed pedestal. 5 years ago, I was a junior diplomatic attaché worried about making a good impression at my first posting, she said with a smile. Now I'm guiding an interspecies evolutionary program that's reshaping galactic society. Having second thoughts? Cole asked. Maya shook her head. No, the crown chose correctly. Not because I was special, but because I was open to possibility. Human adaptability combined with Valyrian wisdom. It's a powerful combination. She looked out at the floating crystal cities of Valyria, then up at the stars beyond. We're just beginning, Ethan. The crown has shown me glimpses of what might be. Civilizations rising together instead of competing, evolution guided by compassion instead of chance. A galaxy where diversity is our greatest strength. Sounds like a future worth building, the ambassador said. It is, Maya agreed, replacing the crown on her head and feeling its familiar warmth. And it all started because an alien crown rejected every candidate, until it lit up for the human girl. 20 years later, Maya Foster still served as sovereign of Valyria, though her role had evolved as dramatically as the society she guided. The genetic exchange program had transformed both Valyrian and human participants, creating a spectrum of adaptations suited to various environments and challenges. The Galactic Genetic Repository now included contributions from over 70 worlds, each benefiting from the collective evolutionary wisdom of countless species. Maya herself had changed, her body incorporating Valyrian adaptations while maintaining her human core. Her lifespan had been extended, her neural capacity enhanced, her connection to the crown and the heart deeper than any previous sovereign. But most importantly, her vision had been validated. The path of connection and diversity had brought unprecedented prosperity and innovation to participating worlds. On the 20th anniversary of her selection by the crown, representatives from across the galaxy gathered in the grand ceremonial chamber where it had all begun. Maya stood on the central platform, the crown glowing brilliantly on her head, and addressed the assembled dignitaries. 20 years ago, an ancient artifact made a choice that seemed impossible, a human sovereign for an alien world. Today, we understand that choice was not about separateness, but about connection. Not about difference, but about recognition of our shared pattern. She gestured, and holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, showing children of the new generation, some primarily human with Valyrian adaptations, others primarily Valyrian with human characteristics, and countless variations between. All thriving, all evolving in ways their ancestors could never have imagined. The crown saw what we could not, that our greatest strength lies not in isolation, but in integration, not in purity, but in diversity. The future belongs not to any single species or world, but to all who recognize the pattern that connects us all. As she concluded her address, Maya felt the crown pulse with a sensation she had come to recognize as completion. A cycle that had begun thousands of years ago, when the precursors saved genetic material from a primitive Earth, had come full circle. Humans and Valyrians, separated by time, space, and evolution, had found each other again, and in doing so, changed the course of galactic history. The crown had chosen well. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.